Thanks so much for logging on. My name is Julie Allen. And I am the Chief Learning Officer of Watch Me Learning Services. And thanks so much for joining. So to get started, I wanted to schedule this short video just to kind of talk about a little bit about the business, a little bit about Watch Me Learning Services, and sort of the services that we offer our clients. We are a small business based in Phoenix, Arizona. My business partner and I, Rachel Martinez, who I believe is on the live video. Hi, Rachel. We started Watch Me Learning Services about a year ago, and specifically, we work with small to medium-sized and large organizations and businesses, specifically to design online training and online learning experiences. Rachel and I both have pretty extensive experience in higher education. I've worked as an instructional designer for close to 15 years now. I've worked for a variety of different institutions, for profit, not for profit, large, small, medium. And I really love working with subject matter experts to design high quality online education. What I love is the fact that you can design something that allows people to experiment, to potentially to fail in a safe way, right? If you want to practice a skill, if you want to practice applying some kind of skill, people can make mistakes, and it won't, there's not going to harm an actual person, which is fantastic. Hi, everyone. So we worked Rachel and I worked at Arizona State University together, and that's where we sort of connected. We worked on a series of online modules for ASU online students who needed some instruction in information literacy and in research skills. And so we set about putting together a series of self-paced modules with some different activities, practice activities, and assignments that faculty could drop into their courses if they wish, that focus on those skills. And we quickly realized how much we really enjoyed creating online things together. So we decided to launch our own company, and the rest, as they say, is history. So I'm going to go to my notes here really quick to just remind myself what I wanted to discuss today. So really what we love about online education, as I mentioned, is that you can do it on your own schedule, right? So students can come, they can, if they're working, they can schedule things in short breaks, they can hop on and complete coursework especially in an online, maybe a corporate environment, right? People can kind of schedule their learning, their training in little chunks in between meetings or in a time where things might be a little bit slower. So they're not taking like a huge chunk out of their day to complete an in-person training, which is fantastic. Online education is it's an equity issue, right? So people who, especially if we're talking about like higher education or professional development, maybe something that's done outside of work, people who have kids or are working full time, or maybe are balancing a couple of different jobs. It's again, it's something, it can be very hard to commit to doing something face to face, doing something on ground. And we found there's a lot of data to support too that working individuals, especially working mothers, tend to be online students. So it really is an important way, if that's a population that you're trying to reach and support. Online education is a really fantastic way to reach that audience. So that's something that Rachel and I feel really strongly about, and something that we really love to support. Certainly too, talking about people who maybe have different learning preferences, different abilities, online education can be a fantastic way. You can package information in a variety of different formats, right? So if people kind of prefer to learn from video, if they prefer audio, people who maybe have something like dyslexia can use assistive technology to help them kind of like move through the material. So as opposed to maybe that, again, very traditional, like providing like a PDF or a textbook. Online education really opens up a lot of different pathways to receiving information, to interacting with information. And so again, that's something that Rachel and I really feel strongly about, and something that really attracted us to this industry, to this field. And it's something that, again, like we really think a lot about when we're working on stuff for our clients. We really think very deeply about like, how can we make sure that this information is accessible to as many people, whether that be people with disabilities or people who just, again, have different learning preferences. We use the Universal Design for Learning framework to make sure that we're really trying to think through as much as we can, um, to, ways to present information to people. And we also to definitely look for feedback as much as we can, like beta testing, to make sure that we're getting that we're getting like real-time feedback on all of these strategies. So that's really what attracted us, and that's what we love so much about online education, why we were really excited about working in this field. Um, so we have worked, again, we've been in business for close to a year now, and we've worked with quite a few small and medium-sized businesses. We've worked with some nonprofits, which has been fantastic. And again, we're really excited to help them bring, whether it's designing something for an outside audience, if you will. We worked with a nonprofit that created a series of online modules because they wanted to educate people out in the world about what they did and about its, specifically its citizen science initiative. So wanting to help people understand what citizen science is and how people can engage with citizen science. And in fact, that series of tutorials that we worked on, it went through a survey process. We had a group of people go through an initial kind of like pilot phase, and the data that came back was that 91% of people who took that series of tutorials said they were more interested in citizen science, they understood it better, and they were more interested in participating with citizen science in citizen science initiatives. So that was a huge win for us. And the other thing that we really love about online education, this is something we especially stress, certainly with businesses, but with everyone, is the fact that when online education is done well, you actually can apply skills. You can practice, right? If there's a customer service process that you want people to use, or if there's a very specific process that you want them to follow, you can create, we call them branching scenarios. You can set up a scenario and actually allow people to practice, right? Do you do A, B, or C? Like, this is happening, a customer's upset. How would you respond? And then it allows people to make decisions, right? I think this is going to be the best decision. And sometimes it is the best decision, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes what seems like perhaps the best decision to make um, can actually really be pretty catastrophic. I remember, this is a long time ago, but I was testing out some branching scenarios at a university that I used to work for, and they provided, it was an organization that provided a series of branching scenarios to us to kind of evaluate to see if we wanted to use those in our courses. And I'll never forget, it was a scenario where you were a principal at a school and you had to deal with some personnel issues. And I went through the training, and I was so sure that I was making the right decisions. And in fact, I actually ended up getting the school sued. So that was a huge, I was horrified, right? But it was definitely a really good learning experience. And again, like being able to make those decisions in the safe space of a branching scenario, right, as opposed to finding that out the hard way in real life, can be hugely beneficial. Um, so that's definitely something that we really love about online education as well. Is there really is, I think online sometimes gets kind of a reputation as being very dry, very boring, very just kind of like that, read and click, read and click, read and click. But in fact, I actually think in some ways online can be, I don't want to say superior, but I think that, again, like sometimes it can be harder to give people that chance to kind of practice in a face-to-face. You can certainly do like role playing, but then that putting people on the spot where they have to act can be kind of awkward. So I think that actually in some ways online, again, allowing people that safe space to practice and apply skills can be really hugely beneficial. So anyway, yes, so we really love working with, we really love working with folks. We love online, and that's something that's really huge to us. And that's pretty much us in a nutshell. So again, thank you all so much for coming. We really appreciate your time. I see some folks in the audience. So hi everyone, thanks for coming. And again, yeah, so we really love working with clients. This is something that's really important to us. It's something we think really deeply about, and we offer free consultations. So if anyone's thinking about dipping their toe into online. If you're thinking, especially if you're a small business and you're interested in creating online trainings, but you don't have an instructional design staff, that's certainly something that we would love to discuss with you. Um, Whether or not we would be a good fit, if there's a service that we can offer. We also do work with individuals who are interested in, maybe if you have a skill, if you have a passion, and you would like to create a course that you would like to maybe use as like a source of passive income, or we certainly work with individuals as well to just kind of help them really hone in on, again, like, what are the key skills that you want folks to practice, what are the key things you want folks to be able to do at the end of your course, and then help you figure out, how do you design in an online, right? Like, how do you design some kind of learning experience that would allow people to gain those skills and in fact practice applying those skills. So we really appreciate y'all for coming, and thanks so much.